everyone, and welcome. My name is Palma Accardi, and you are watching Tidal Flooding Talk. We are brought to you by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition and filmed every Sunday night here at the Irish Pub in Atlantic City.
And I'm meteorologist Dan Skelton. Thanks for being with us on Spring Ahead weekend. Welcome back to Daylight Saving Time. It's a full moon as well. We got Friday the 13th this week, so it's going to be a very busy week. Not weather-wise, but otherwise. And we welcome back for the second straight week, a meteorologist. So my apologies to Palma from Joe Martucci of the
She always gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
I know.
Two meteorologists. Last week we had Jim Everwine, and this week we're honored to have Joe Martucci. Joe, welcome back.
Dan, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Palma. Thank you.
We're still shaking hands here in the friendly confines of Tidal Flooding Talk.
But we all had the
We hand sanitized.
Yes.
We're tested.
We did.
We're all
and
good.
we're all Purelling afterwards. And
That's correct.
yes.
Although I trust you guys. I trust you
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was singing happy birthday. I was washing my hands.
Yeah, happy birthday to
And
Kenzie.
it's Kenzie's birthday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, but we had our party today. So that was very nice. And so what a day. Kenzie's first birthday, following it up with a Tidal Flooding Talk. As always, you guys can feel free to just listen in, post questions, comments. If you're watching in a car, driving down St. James Place in Atlantic City, you can stop on by the Irish Pub as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Joe, welcome back.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And actually, today also is the average last snowfall at Atlantic City International Airport.
Okay.
Just to let everybody know. So just in case you didn't think winter was already enough in the rearview mirror, it is even more so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the year without a winter.
The year that wasn't, right?
Right. I mean, we didn't have the cold, we didn't have the snow, we didn't have a nor'easter, and we didn't have any significant tidal flooding. Which,
No?
The cold, the snow, the nor'easter, some people actually cheer on. No one really says, oh, darn it, we didn't have tidal flooding.
I want that tidal flooding.
Right.
Although we had a little bit this weekend,
We did a little
but nothing
bit.
significant. It was
Right.
just the nuisance flooding that we trying to protect against more,
Yeah.
but we still get many times. But it's a pleasure to be here today. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you, Joe. And before we get really started with the show, the New Jersey Coastal Coalition would like to remind our viewers to make an emergency plan before you need it, sign up for your community's text alerts, know your town's evacuation route, and prepare a disaster supply kit. Don't forget your medications and important papers, too.
And now the time is it's a quiet time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's been quiet all winter, but we have hurricane season looming in a couple months, and it's not forever going to stay quiet. We hope as long as possible. So now is the time to prepare and do all that stuff during times of peace.
Absolutely.
So, since it has been such a mild winter, what does that mean for summer?
Oh, great question. So this is something I've actually gotten a couple of times. The short answer is nothing. I actually looked at the top 5 warmest winters down here in South Jersey and compared them to the top 5 warmest summers. None of the top 5 warmest winters were in the top 5 warmest summers. And actually, we did I do a twice monthly podcast and vodcast, video podcast, I think that's what we call it,
Okay.
with the state climatologist, Dr. Dave Robinson. He also alluded to the same thing. He said what this winter might do is enhance forest fire season, but that is also kind of on a day-to-day basis, because obviously if it rains one day, it's not like you're going to have this high fire danger the next. But, you don't necessarily want to be warm coming out of a winter, because we're already seeing things bloom. I mean, I was just saying before, there's actually a tree across the street from me that's starting to flower.
Yeah, I passed a couple today too.
Yes.
Punxsutawney Phil said an early spring, and
I guess he's right this time,
The
Dan.
rest of us blew the winter forecast. We had you on, we had Jim on.
Yeah.
I made a winter forecast. I don't like making them, but I made one, and no one predicted the warmest, one of the least snowy. One of the warmest, and no nor'easters and no significant tidal flooding. No one predicted that. So I guess my first question is, what happened?
I mean, what happened was a lot of these low pressure systems, they didn't come up the coast. They went inland, and places like Buffalo or Ohio or northern New England, they saw their snow, but we didn't see our snow here. So what happens is usually when you're on the east side of a low pressure system, you're warm. And we've had plenty of those days where, we might have been, 35, 40 degrees, but it was dry. Then it warmed up to 50 or 60, and we rained. And that was pretty much, and we're still seeing that consistently, day after day.
And that also goes into the storm track, goes into the wind direction, which goes into the lack of tidal flooding as well. Because
correct.
with the storm track we had this winter, the northeast winds for days and days, never really materialized, so you never really had the tidal flooding, which again is a great thing.
Yeah, no one's complaining about that. I believe, and Jim might have said this because Jim was one who told me. I think 3 or 4 times this winter we saw tidal flooding, and that was it. And then it would be number 4 or 5 with this weekend.
Right.
So pretty benign year, and none of those. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think any of those were even in moderate flood stage. I think our biggest coastal flooding event was in October.
Right. For the second straight year, it was October.
Yeah, we had October, and then ever since then we've been pretty good. I mean, it makes my job easier. I don't have to focus on the snow or the coastal flooding. But I do like my snow. I would, if we were to squeak out a March snow, even just like 2 inches, I would like it. But I think our clock is quickly running down at this point.
And we can have big March storms. I mean, one of the biggest ever in South Jersey, the 62 storm, was a March storm. Was an Ash Wednesday storm, the 5 high storm, 93.
Yeah,
the
Blizzard 93.
superstorm.
Yes.
That was like 50 inches of snow up in upstate New York, and massive flooding and wind here on the coast. That was snow all the way down to Georgia. So March has bad storms, but we don't see any this March.
No,
at least in the foreseeable future.
No, nothing. I mean, we kind of had a coastal storm on Friday. It brought rain. Some places mixed with snow, but that was about it.
Yep.
It's just not our year. Polar vortex. If we're going to start talking polar vortex, it's been bottled up in the Arctic where it likes to be. It wasn't disrupted. It was kind of just no one poked the bear, and we've been good since then.
Yep.
Good if you don't like snow, I should say.
Right.
Bad if you do like snow.
Although you're saying that winter may possibly be in our rear view mirrors, what about coastal and tidal flooding?
Yeah, I mean, that's something which is usually driven by, coastal storms and nor'easters, and we just haven't seen a lot of those. So, I mean, it's hard to forecast, like you have a seasonal coastal flooding forecast, but I would probably say, at least for the next, into the spring, we're going to continue with this pattern where these storms are going to cut inland and not necessarily go offshore and get a lot of these coastal flooding events. But it only takes the right combination. When we have a full moon,
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Officially, yeah,
we have the full moon tomorrow. If we, by random chance, have an east wind, we would get a little bit of coastal flooding. That's something that, could happen more or less on a whim. But to get those significant flooding events, I just don't. If we haven't seen them thus far, I don't think we're seeing them for the rest of our cool season, which would take us through at the end of April.
Right. In April and May, if anything, usually is that nuisance flooding.
Yeah.
If you get the new moon, the full moon, you get the east or northeast or northerly wind.
Right.
You get the nuisance flooding.
Right.
But we've made it out through 2 winters without any big major winter storms and big major tidal flooding events. So I think Mother Nature knows that tidal flooding talk is educating the Jersey Shore and knows we're prepared and not testing us.
Does that increase all of our CRS ratings here, our community rating system?
Tidal flooding talk definitely helps sharing the ideas that the towns.
I just meant the lack of nor'easters.
I'm sorry.
If we keep this up, maybe FEMA will get a hint, and maybe we'll raise some of the classes here.
That would be nice.
Very nice.
Now, what is the is there an outlook, or when do you guys, let's say the press, issue a hurricane outlook? Do you issue one, and if so, when does one come out? And have you started looking at what's brewing for hurricane season? Because that's the next thing. And I think winter forecasts and hurricane forecasts, not necessarily in that order, are the 2 most popular and biggest long-range forecasts issued every year.
Yeah, I would definitely say so, because I already got a couple of calls to do talks about the hurricane forecast coming up. So, and I don't know what you did, Dan. I don't do my own hurricane long-term forecast.
Nor do I.
Yeah, I mean, that takes very similar winter forecasting. It takes hundreds of hours to do, and it's compiled by many people. So, I don't do my own. What I do is I will take from Colorado State University. They are, I would consider, the gold standard, or if not, they're there with NOAA as the top hurricane forecast. Why Colorado State? Well, inland, a landlocked state's talking about hurricanes. That has to do with the professor who was there, but it's just kind of random. But they are the ones that I usually just, I take what they have and then, kind of translate that a little bit to South Jersey. And, it is important to say, and I know Jim says this a lot too, we can have a 12-month hurricane season just because of the storm surge we can get at any point in time.
We do. Like I said, the 62 storm taught us that.
Correct.
And there's a difference between, and we talk about it all the time on tidal flooding talk, between hurricanes and what they do in terms of wind and tidal flooding, and nor'easters and what they do in terms of wind and tidal flooding. And while a nor'easter can't rival a hurricane's wind, it can actually bring worse tidal flooding.
Yeah, absolutely. Depending, nor'easters generally are larger in size than hurricanes. Generally, that's not always the case. So they can carry more water, or push more water with them. So you can get the significant coastal flooding, even more so on a nor'easter than you would, with a hurricane. Depending on the situation, of course. It's all dependent on the situation.
So even though obviously hurricanes have more height than nor'easters do, it's not something people should, not pay attention to when they hear a nor'easter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think people down here are pretty good with, recognizing there's a nor'easter and there's going to be coastal flooding, or at least a threat for coastal flooding. I think we're a pretty smart group down here when it comes to that. Absolutely.
Coastal residents are very educated because obviously it affects their car, their property, their lives in some instances.
Absolutely.
So, very educated, and that's one of the goals of this show.
Yeah.
We do have people, like snow's always a very popular topic of discussion.
Yeah.
Vicky Hipman wants to know, if this winter wasn't the winter with the least snow, what was and how does this year ring?
Okay, yeah, so I did a piece on this talking about the least snowiest winter. So we looked at Cape May, and we had records go back to the late 1800s, and we looked at Atlantic City International Airport, which goes back to the 1940s. Now, can't say I remember Cape May off the top of my head, but I do know at AC Airport it is the second least snowiest winter of all time, and will likely remain that way. So we've only seen a half inch at the airport, and honestly, that half inch fell on the grass and melted right away. So it wasn't even anything that you
but
could...
It's still
So most people didn't really see accumulating snow. I mean, unless you were out during that snow, it went through a whole winter with no snow.
Yeah, we're in the top 3 for least snowiest winters in all of South Jersey. That comes from the State Climate Office, and that goes back to 1894. So we are really in a drought here for snow, and it's just, it's incredible. I was rooting for snow, and then I was kind of like desperate for snow, and then right about maybe after Valentine's Day, I was like, just forget it. Let's just get into 70s and 80s at this point. That's kind of where I'm at now. And tomorrow should be 70 for the mainland. So.
I took my nephews out for ice cream today. So.
I know. Rita's.
Well, I saw an ice cream truck.
A custard hut, and everything's opening up. And ice cream trucks are out too.
Yeah, I saw an ice cream truck yesterday after I was getting out of the gym. I was like, this is crazy. I said, it's March.
Did you get ice cream after the gym?
I did not. I was being good. I shouldn't say I was being good, because I had the most stuffed Oreo afterwards when I got back.
Okay.
I'm a big...
Mega?
No, it's bigger than Mega. This is a 4-time stuff.
I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, they're like limited edition. They came out last winter.
It's not homemade?
It is not homemade. This is legit. This is legit stuff over here. We actually did... with Atlantic City Weekly associate editor Ryan Lofton, we did an Oreo taste test last year.
Oh, nice.
When this came out, we did the Oreo Thins, which are just a waste of time. And then the regular Oreos, double stuff, mega stuff.
We might have to bring that on Tidal Flooding Talk.
Might have to.
Taste test,
It was National Oreo Day last week.
It was.
I don't know what this had to do with Tidal Flooding, but,
I'm
sure we can work in it.
Yeah. Well, we brought up just about everything last week with Jim Everline. So sometimes we get off course. One of the reasons we did.
Yeah, right.
How they with the Waze app was driving people into the middle of the Pinelands instead of the Borgata.
That's
Which was an interesting story. One of the reasons we love having you as a guest, we bring you back at least once a season. Last time we brought you was the middle of the winter when we still had prospects for snow and cold, and those have been dashed. But you were going to head up to Boston to the American Meteorological Conference.
Yes.
All right, you had a presentation, which is an honor, which is something that not a lot of people get to do.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, well, first let me say it was in the 70s that weekend in Boston. Speaking of this crazy winter, but it was also super windy that day too. But it was the warmest January day on record. Go figure. Anyway, so I was there to talk about, and I'm going to say what we have done at the press, that's you and myself, Dan, with kind of transitioning over from the closing of a TV station where people expect to watch the weather, to moving that over to the press of Atlantic City, which people might not necessarily think video. I mean, yes, a newspaper company, I would just like to say we're a media company at this point, and how we did that, how we did it for a relatively low cost, and, the successes we had in terms of page views, video views, awards won. I mean, you've won awards, I've won awards for our work that we've done. So it was pretty incredible. It was at the broadcast conference which is a subset of the conference. So they put you in this huge room because they probably figure if you're a broadcaster, you like talking to people. Usually the other ones are in these small, 30 or 40 person rooms. They just throw them all in the pen and go. But it was really cool. There were a lot of people from Jersey out there, whether they were with the Weather Service, people I knew, local, media from Philadelphia that were there.
Sellout crowd for you then?
I would say it was pretty close.
Yeah, okay.
I tried to pump it up a little bit, say, hey, come Wednesday at 10:45, I'll be there. But it was a really cool experience. I mean, I've been to this conference 3 times before. I haven't gone since 2014, so it was a while. And I don't think if you asked me back then would I be presenting a talk, I would say, probably not. But it was great, the press to have me go. And the conference is great. I mean, there was 5,500 people there. Most of them are meteorologists, so everyone's all in the same boat, kind of.
So imagine, Palma, instead of 2 meteorologists, like 5,500 meteorologists.
Yeah.
It could get worse.
Would I
could get worse.
fight
You
or
can hang?
flight or flight?
I think you'd be good. I think you'd fight. I think you'd fight and stay in.
And I will say, too, I'm going to interrupt here and
Yeah.
say that I've been a meteorologist since 1998, so I know a lot of people in the Northeast and a lot of meteorologists in a lot of fields. Your presentation, and I texted you this, I didn't give names, but I had 3 separate texts saying, hey, Joe Martucci, great job, great presenter. So it was getting positive feedback from afar.
Well,
So you represented the area
Did,
well.
and
I'm
the
glad I
industry
repped
well,
South Jersey
and the
well.
press well, and the just the field well.
Well, it's kind of our story, right? I mean, if people didn't decide to go, look to the press for weather, I mean, there are other options out there. We're not naive. There's always competition around. So the fact that there are people coming to the press, and we've seen gains in page views. Like, for example, the press page views went up by 16% last year. Weather did something like 45% better year over year. When you started, went up 300% obviously, but it even still went up. There was 5. I think it's been 5 years, between 2 of us, and every year except for 1 had an increase, and it was an increase at or above where the press was at.
And when you think about it too, I mean, South Jersey is always, we're not Philadelphia. We used to have a promo on NBC 40. You don't live in Philly, and neither do we. And it was an NBC 40 jingle. All right, and when NBC 40 went away, Philly still doesn't cover South Jersey that well. So the press is like, the lone broadcast outlet with the South Jersey meteorologist that, covers exclusively South Jersey weather, Southern Ocean County down to the shore.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a valuable resource because there is that TV void.
Yeah, I mean, the press is the only place where you have, a meteorologist local to South Jersey forecasting the weather. And one thing, we do differently than anywhere else, we do a mainland and a shore 7-day forecast year-round. Some places do it just for the summer, but there's plenty of people who are here, for St. Patrick's Day weekend, which is going to be next weekend. There's plenty of people down, Christmas, New Year's. So those are the kind of things, I think, the value that we bring, with the press. We're always keeping it local all the time. So.
And what is it like, keeping up with your posts? Because I know whenever I want to know the weather, I just check your page or Press of AC, and it's like
Thank you,
1 hour ago.
Well,
it feels like
you.
it's always, he posted an hour.
Yeah.
So what is it like always keeping up with the weather, being the sole
Yeah,
media?
so it's funny. So in Boston, I was saying, positives, and of course, what are some challenges, and it was both a positive and a challenge to be the only one. Because on one hand, it's good because you kind of get to run the show, right? And like your forecast is your forecast, and you don't have to. Sometimes, you get into little spars with other meteorologists. Not that it's mean, it's just friendly, but you don't want to. Sometimes it's bad. But on the other hand, you want that, communication from other, people who you're working with in your field, talking about forecasting and other things like that. So, how was I going to keep up the post to answer your question? You kind of always have to be on. If there's a severe thunderstorm, like a great example, last Tuesday there were severe thunderstorm warnings coming through. It was 10:30 at night.
Wasn't really thunderstorms, but they were severe weather.
Correct,
You're
severe
right.
weather. Yes,
there
I
were
apologize.
warnings. No, you're right. You're right.
Windy night?
Yeah, there were severe thunderstorm warnings. You're absolutely right. But
you're right,
there were
too.
no thunder and lightning. It was
Correct.
confusing because there was no thunder and lightning.
I've thought about this too, and maybe that's a conversation for another day. Maybe there should be some kind of different warning for that.
There should be,
but in
yeah.
any case,
Well, then what was it? Just
it was high winds. Yeah. You don't necessarily need the thunderstorms to bring the high winds in a heavy shower, which is what it was. But anyway, it's a lot of being always on, and I knew that being at the press and Dan was very still very active on especially Facebook. That if people originally aren't knowing to turn to you for video, find other ways to get the message out there and get people to come back to your content. So we do that a lot through social media, where it's a lot of content that people can use and accept, and then we're also posting these videos, which is ultimately what we want to drive. We want people to see, hey, you can get your local mainland and shore 7-day forecast. We'll talk about like how crazy this early spring is with the blooming trees and plants and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's a round the clock thing. I also put some pride into it, so I keep that a focal point, but it's just something, if you're passionate about it, you kind of just do it.
Well, what do you think?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What do you think is being looked at more, the articles or your media and the videos?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the articles probably do the best, just because we're people expect to come to us for written stuff, right? But that doesn't mean our videos aren't successful in their own right, especially with weather. A lot of times we have categories, like news, sports, weather, et cetera, et cetera. And, weather's almost always in the top 2 for highest rated, highest viewed for categories. So that's a success in its own
Everyone
right.
is interested in
Right.
Yeah, and social media. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I'm saying that weather affects everyone.
Yeah, weather affects everybody. And, with social media, especially with Facebook, you can share the community groups. And, I've gotten messages. I got one last week from a group in Hamilton saying, hey, we would love, for you to share your weather stuff on our Facebook page in Hamilton. Now, that means there's a demand for it. So there is a demand out there. And a lot of times, the reach that we do with weather at the press, pretty similar to other media outlets that might be in Philadelphia or in New York. When you take that community outreach and the spread that you can get through Facebook specifically.
Right. And I mean, weather-wise, you guys, you localize it. That's what people want, their local weather. Philadelphia doesn't talk about tidal flooding forecast. I mean, they do, like coastal flood warnings and whatnot. But I mean, you guys break it down by county, by tides. Like which tides are worse, minor, moderate, major. You speak the language that Palma and I always speak here on Tidal Flooding Talk, and you bring local weather, which is a value, is a precious resource nowadays, where you can get the weather in so many platforms, but you actually have not a computer, not an app doing it. You have a meteorologist giving you local weather.
Yeah.
I think every community, every area of the country should be so lucky.
Yeah.
Do you have any Facebook questions?
Some hellos.
Hello,
Rose
everybody.
from Galloway, Colleen
Cool.
from Summers Point,
Awesome.
Rose Dodona. Where is it flooding? The answer is
Nowhere.
which
Nowhere.
is great. So we do these tidal flooding talks, not necessarily when there's flooding. Sometimes the shows coincide. But this winter's been pretty quiet. No flooding worries. We had a little bit over the weekend, right?
Yeah, a little bit. We had minor flood stage over the weekend.
I did see pictures posted locally that people saw flooding in the streets as
Already
well.
answered.
Yeah. I mean, there was a little bit, but nothing crazy here. And thankfully, like we said, we've been pretty good so far with the coastal flooding in terms of not having a lot.
So Rose, hopefully we're on every week saying no flooding, but obviously,
Hopefully so.
Our luck's been pretty good this winter. The luck can run out any time, any month of the year. A little more likely in the winter or with a hurricane, but it can happen. We've had bad flooding in August, non-tropical related, so it can happen any time of the year, and you rely on people on the show and the press, for the daily tidal flooding forecast, and hopefully you rely on us, or Ken tune in to us every week for the weekly chat on flooding issues. Bill McCord from Summers Point OEM checking in, and
Hey
of
there,
course
Bill.
the OEMs are so vital in the Coastal Coalition and
Absolutely.
in each community for what they do. So,
Absolutely.
So Bill, thank you to all you and your employees and your department does, and OEM. We had Jim Eberwine, OEM for
Absecon.
yesterday. Yep.
And OEM helps make my job easier too. When I'm looking for pieces of content, stories, there's a couple I'm friendly with and would love to be friendly with more. I know I can't, obviously not getting out to see everybody, but don't, or feel free to give me a shout, say hey, introduce yourself, and I'll do the same as well.
Now, is it too soon to ask about St. Patrick's Day, the parade? Are we going to be clear for weather? Or...
Are you going?
I make a last-minute decision. Usually.
Okay, I see. All right.
It depends on the weather. If it's
Right,
nice,
depends on the
weather.
Yeah.
So were you out last year? Because last year's St. Patrick's Day parade was really nice. It was pretty similar to today. Yeah, next Saturday. Let's put it this way: there is activity around. I wouldn't necessarily say, "Oh my God, I can't go out." Yet. We're still far away. I would just keep it in the back of your mind. Let's put it this way: I don't see any, nor'easter per se in that time. So that would lead me to believe any rain or probably not snow that comes through isn't necessarily, a big soaker or all day. So I would say worst case scenario, you get a couple of showers throughout the day, but your best case scenario still is dry at this point.
Okay. And Joe,
Do you agree with me, Dan?
I haven't looked that far.
Okay.
I've gotten really good at Monday to Friday. I'm like deep into weather. And
Right.
it used to be Saturdays and Sundays. I think since I had Kenzie,
You're being a dad.
I've disconnected on the weekends.
Oh, that's
which
very
my wife
fair.
is pretty happy. Other than doing tidal flooding talk and doing some radio weather forecasts, I'm not on Facebook and Twitter and the models all the time unless I know there's a big storm coming.
Right.
But I will be honest that Joe would be the person to go to with St. Patrick's Day weather because
We will have you covered.
I do disconnect on the weekends,
Yes.
and I'm loving it. I never thought I would, but I do like actually being away from the weather for a day or two.
No, it's good taking a break from weather. I will say that I'm paying a little close attention to the weather this weekend because my sister's getting married on Friday.
So that's a big pressure
Yeah,
forecast.
yeah.
right?
So that's a big pressure forecast. So I've been keeping an eye out for what's happening.
Right now it looks wet, I think, or it did last time I checked.
Yeah,
things.
I'm telling her we're not out of the woods
Isn't that
yet.
good luck or something? If it
Well,
rains?
it makes me feel
She's-
better if it rains
yeah,
in the weather.
She's okay with rain except between the hours, I believe she said, of 11 and 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. She said it can rain all at once outside of those times. So I'm keeping a close eye out for her. I said we're not out of the woods yet, but I don't think it's going to be a soaker for you.
But I know next year Joe's getting married, and it's
Yes.
going to be the sunniest day of the year.
I hope so.
I'm already cementing that in. So,
Well, actually,
right?
Shawnee's right over here.
Written in
She's
stone.
behind. She's behind. She's waving behind the camera over here.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
And you're going to deliver a sunny day, right? Because number
Absolutely.
one, you have to. Number
Yes.
two, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of meteorologists at the wedding.
There will be
Or
plenty.
there'll be plenty of weather people that are all going to be working to ensure
Yes,
sunshine.
yes, yeah. There's going to be a load of sunshine, I'm sure, for that day. We'll say January 8th. So let's see. I mean, even a little bit of snow's not bad.
No,
it can make for nice
that
scenery.
can make it serene.
Yes,
and
it can make it
picturesque and
serene.
that, yeah.
Just no nor'easter that day.
Rose says, congratulations. Denise actually says, Joe helps me make decisions for calling Code Blue along with our OEM in Cumberland County. It's a big decision, and I appreciate all the input I can get.
I know that, Denise. Hey, Denise, we were talking earlier today. Yes, we actually started talking when we were doing a piece about the M25 initiative, which she's involved with, which involves Code Blues, which involve homeless shelters, in Cumberland County. We've gotten to talking. We've been friends, for since we've been starting to talk to them. Even got her hooked up with her own rain gauge so she can measure the rain for this volunteer nationwide network called Coco Ross. She's a big weather fan. So
very
thanks,
nice.
Denise, for tuning in.
Denise, you got the best resource right here next to me right here. So, and Rose actually said, does it? So she asked, where is it flooding? And she says, doesn't it go with the full moon, which is tomorrow night?
That's
and
correct.
it's a very good point, Rose. Normally, the two are connected, or at least, I mean, if there is going to be flooding, a lot of the time the bad flooding does happen during the full and new moon.
That's right. Yeah. In this case, we're not going to see any coastal flooding just because our winds are from the southwest, which are going to push that water offshore. But all it really needs is a little bit of an east wind, and that's why I was saying it could be. Could we get coastal flooding even without the nor'easter? Yeah, absolutely. All it takes is a full moon or a new moon and just like a little bit of an east wind.
Right.
To get us like
Yeah,
northeast.
we always say, I mean, I guess the three things for flooding are the tide, what the tides are doing, which is based on the moon,
Yeah.
what the wind is doing, and then rain can make it worse or better.
Right.
So you throw in more water. So those three things. Right now we got one, the full moon.
Yeah.
The other two don't line up.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how can people reach out to you? There's so many different ways nowadays. And again, he's your South Jersey meteorologist. So how can people find you at the press, and social media?
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook, meteorologist Joe Martucci. I have this video shared to my page. You can find me there. You can also find me on Twitter, which is AC Press Martucci. Instagram at JoeMartWX. Now, I just started to get a TikTok.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I haven't done anything with it yet except for one video, which I told was not a good TikTok video. But you can find me on TikTok at AC Press Martucci.
Shows you how old I am. We were talking about this, like not knowing what. I don't even know. I have no idea what that is, or how to do it, or.
I watch TikToks, but I don't have TikToks.
Okay.
I'm getting old.
I'm trying to figure it out. I had someone show me it. Like, it feels like Instagram stories. I'm just not there yet. I'm not there to perfect it. The press also has a TikTok account, I'll have you know.
Yeah, you know, our director Tom Quirk is all over TikTok.
Yeah, he's a huge TikTok guy.
You can follow him on
viral.
TikTok.
Tom's been
Yeah.
on TikTok for like years now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
He
but
wanted it to be Tom Talk. Like Tom Quirk, but it was catchier to be TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok was a little bit catchier. Or you can find pressofac.com/weather. We do videos 3 times daily from our green screen or out in the field. Tomorrow we will be here at Boardwalk Hall doing weather video ahead of the MAC tournament, MAC college basketball tournament, back page of press, podcast, Something in the Air podcast on Apple Store, or you can find it on our website too.
Well, Joe, you're going to have to celebrate St. Patrick's Day
That's fine
this
with
year
me.
because
Show off my very not
we
Irish
have
side.
an Irish pub St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, look at this.
shirt.
Wow, all right.
So you'll have
Well,
to celebrate.
Day after St. Patrick's Day here at the Irish Pub
Yeah,
is
it's
the very
well-sided.
famous Bag Day. I don't know if you've ever been to Bag
I
Day.
actually don't know about Bag Day.
That's on March 18th, but that's always here at the Irish Pub, and it's I don't know if it's just as popular as St. Patrick's Day, but it is a pretty cool event to come see at least once. Bag Day, March 18th.
Is it like going out on New Year's Day? Is it that kind of vibe?
Probably.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a big party.
Big party.
Yeah.
Okay, it's for the people who didn't have enough fun on St. Patrick's
Or had
Day.
too much fun at St. Patrick's Day.
Or had too much fun. Right, correct.
In our
Could go
back
both
at it
ways.
again. Rose says, us old fogies just stay on Facebook. I think I'm an old fogey too. Rose. I have
you got
Facebook, I have
Twitter, you have Twitter.
I stopped
on
there.
Instagram?
I am not.
You're not.
I said, back in the day when I was all over social media, Facebook and Twitter were like 25 hours a day. So
Right.
I didn't have any time for anything else. So I'm going to stop here.
Well, now it's tough. I mean, I don't want to say tough in a bad way, but like there are multiple social media platforms.
And
Like
you
need
your
need
Facebook
social media.
are
Yeah.
your older. You know, your Twitter are your like 20s and 30s, and then your TikToks and TomToks and Instagrams are like your younger. So I mean, obviously those are your newer ones, right?
Yeah, Instagram, is pretty young. Although I will say I see a more diverse age group coming. TikTok is really like 25 and maybe not even like 21 and under. Yeah.
And then Tom.
And Tom, who's 21 in 3 months.
Right. All right. We will be back here at the Irish Pub next few weeks. Good guests lined up. 7 p.m. every Sunday evening. You're more than welcome to come down here and join us. And hopefully be flooding free on your travels down here to Atlantic City. Always brought to you by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition, and it's been a pleasure. Some great comments tonight, great feedback, probably due in part due to your following, which continues to grow.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. I think it's a group effort here, but I appreciate it.
All right, and we'll probably have you back on, I would imagine, probably May, sometime before hurricane season, where we'll talk about the Colorado folks and what they see for
Absolutely.
hurricane
We'll follow up with Colorado folks. We'll have a good time. Always a pleasure to be here.
All right, so you have the invite now. We'll just work out the date when it gets a little closer.
Sounds good to me.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, thanks, Dan.
All right.
Thanks, Palma.
Thanks, Joe.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night, guys. Next weekend,
Take
and
care.
enjoy the late sunsets.